Billy, if you could go to the next slide. We're making a lot of progress on the signature project, and this is, I mean, it's really going to be nice, really going to be a big deal. The National Guard was out there, a few of them were out there Saturday and Sunday. They staked things out Saturday, and then Sunday they were out there doing some other stuff, and then Monday they brought all of their heavy equipment. I mean, it's like, you know, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, that's not all the vehicles. That's probably about maybe half of them. I mean, they probably have 10 earth movers and trucks and all types of things out there, and about 25 people. So they brought enough out there to probably move the whole mountain, but this is a training exercise for them. They've got a lot more than what they need, but they're all working and they're learning how to do different things. They've been extremely cooperative. You know, the whole thing is working out really well, and they have broken ground. When I went out there on Sunday, I noticed that things weren't as, the steps or the plateaus were not as big as I had envisioned them in my mind after the way they'd had them staked out. And I mentioned that to them, and even though it was as drawn the way they did it, they adjusted and changed it. I mean, they agreed and said, yeah, okay, and so they changed it. So that was really good. So I saw that, and then on Tuesday I went out there to meet with the hydro seeder and with the cement guy on two different occasions, and Frank Carl came out, and he looked in the other direction and he said, Jed, you know, I think the whole theater is pointing in the wrong direction. And, you know, it was pointed towards the lake, but it wasn't pointed towards the widest part of the lake. So we were able, they had already started cutting, but they said, hey, no problem, but we want to get the architects okay. And that's Matt Davis, because he had drawn everything out. So we had to track him down. He was driving through the rain, and he had to literally tell them that it was okay. They wouldn't take my word for it, but as long as he said it was okay, it was okay. And so they've adjusted, and it's going to be really nice looking over the, you know, the widest part of the lake. So they were out there Monday and Tuesday of this week, and Saturday and Sunday a little bit, but Monday and Tuesday with the whole crowd. This next week they'll be out there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Okay, and so they're going to be really doing all the heavy work those 4 days, or actually 3.5 days. So I'd encourage y'all to go out there on the weekend or on, you know, Monday late afternoon, whatever, just to see what they're doing. It's out at the Children's Garden. But what I really want to encourage you to do is, and you've got these flyers, I mean, you've got about 20 flyers, so if you sort of dig down and find this one, this is for a lunch that we're hosting for them on Wednesday out at the site. It's the Children's Garden at the Clemson Sand Hill Extension. And I'll send an email with the directions to it. But I really want to encourage as many people to go as possible, to tell these, you know, young men and women, thanks a lot for what they're doing for us and for our community, but most of all, thanks for what they're doing in general. I mean, they're great folks, and I think, you know, we have a lot of affinity for the military, and, you know, I think it's really important that we show the flag and go out there. So I'm going to encourage, and I really would change that and say I would beg you to go out there. I think it's really important that we show up in numbers. So please find this on your table, sign up for it so that I know how much food to order. The lunch will be good, it'll be free, it's on us. So that's all I've got to say. Feel free to give me a call anytime if you got questions. I'll send an email out later on with some more detail. So thanks a lot, President Phil.
Thanks, Jed, and yeah, hopefully many of you can come out and support that and you see some of the activity that's going on. At this time, without further ado, I'd like to bring up Julie Gibbons to introduce Glen.
Thank you, President Phil. It's indeed a pleasure. Jennifer is correct. Our speaker today, a humorist, an inspirational speaker, motivational speaker, he travels the country, gets big bucks for what he's getting ready to do right now, and we got him for what it costs for a great lunch. So we are indeed fortunate. Glen Ward, if many of you may know, a couple of months ago, South Carolina prayer breakfast, they canceled. The speaker canceled right before that. General Goldsmith was there. And anyway, Glen filled in and did a wonderful job. I went up to him afterwards. I said, we hadn't had you at Spring Valley Rotary lately. We need to get you back. But Glen's a member of the Columbia Rotary, a Paul Harris Fellow. He's the son of a preacher. He's from the PD, a native South Carolinian. He and his wife Denise, they live in Lexington. They've got a son and a daughter, and we're just great, very fortunate to have Glen with us. So give a warm Spring Valley Rotary welcome, Glen Ward.
Thank you very much, Julian. It's an honor to be back. I have a Spring Valley Rotary Club file that goes back to 1992 when I first spoke for an awards night that y'all were having back that many years ago. And the last time I was here was right here in this very room 7 years ago in May of '08. But it's great, always good to be with you. Just want to have a good time with you today, as I've always done. And when I walked in, Mr. Toma met me, and Mel Stebbins, my friend, met me, and a couple of things that some of you who know me from out and about, Jennifer, you know, from here and on, you might say, well, that Glen guy, he looks a little bit different. I have lost some weight. Last time I was here, I was about 90 pounds heavier than I am now. And, thank you. Folks ask me, have you been sick? And the answer is yes, I was sick of being overweight. So growing up in South Carolina, as I did, I never met a barbecue place I didn't like. When I was a kid, I would ask my friends at school, what did y'all have for supper last night? They'd say mac and cheese. And I said, okay, and what else? And they said mac and cheese, that's what they had, that's fine. But that was a side dish for us. You know, we had this and that and 2 or 3 other carbs and some biscuits and cornbread and all that stuff to go with it. So I'm kind of rethinking my diet, and this was a good thing for me to do. And so that, no sickness, just trying to get a little leaner and meaner, so to speak. But a little lady in my church recently asked me, as little ladies in your church can do, she came up to me one day, she hadn't seen me in a while, she said, Glen, did you have an operation to lose all that weight? And I was not being disrespectful at all. It just came to me. It just came to me all of a sudden. I said, no, Miss Christabel. I said, it wasn't in the picking up of a knife, but in the putting down of my fork. And so that was my answer to her. And she seemed to kind of get that. But you know, we Southerners, we're just too cute for our own good. What we don't, we bring fresh vegetables in out of the garden, and by the time we put fat back in them and fry them a little bit, you know, we Southernize these things, and that really makes them good. But I really enjoy living here. This is where I've been all my life thus far, and I love South Carolina. I love our way of life. And we are now promoting ourselves on television with a plethora of shows, you know, Duck Dynasty, Honey Boo Boo, and Gator Man, and all this. And I was watching one of my favorite shows not long ago, Swamp Loggers. And when I was watching this show, I saw this guy speaking, and he was speaking much like I do, you know, in a Southern accent dialect. And this guy was driving this log truck down this dirt road with potholes in it, almost like South Carolina now. And as he was making his way back to the lumber yard, he almost tipped the truck over, but thankfully he did not. He made it back safely. But as he jumped down out of the cab of this truck, wearing his hard hat and steel-toe boots, he jumped down and was telling Bobby, the owner of the company, what almost, fortunately, did not happen. What almost did happen, but fortunately did not happen. And he was speaking in such a strong accent, they had to put the text of what he was saying at the bottom of the TV screen, as if he were from Germany or Sweden or whatever. It's like, that thing right there, it just about turned over. Everybody around me killed something like that around here. The problem was, I understood what he was saying. I got it. I didn't need the text. So that kind of puts everything in context as to where I'm from and what I know. So, you know, that's okay. Now, the thing about living in South Carolina, and Emily, I think you'll agree with me on this. When you bring in someone, they're looking for a home, and you know, you're trying to show them South Carolina, and you're being an ambassador of our state. This old Columbia's a great place to live. We have a wonderful zoo, and we have museums and parks and all this stuff, and you're really promoting South Carolina. It confuses people, because when they come in here from Ohio or from California or Sweden or Germany or wherever, they have to get a little bit bumfuzzled when they come in, and they think they've got the accents figured out, only to go an hour and a half away and get into something entirely different. You can go with me today to the upper part of South Carolina, as I did a while back. I won't tell you the name of the town, but it rhymes with Spartanburg. And I was up there one day to give a talk at a hospital, Julian, not your hospital system, but another. And I was driving in, I was trying to park, and there was a little man, nice guy, standing there at the little guard shack, you know, where the little arm goes up and down, and I wanted to know where I could park. I didn't want to get a ticket. So I asked him, I said, sir, would you please tell me, I'm here to speak at your hospital today, would you please tell me where I'm allowed to park? He said, you go up there, and you turn down there, and you go backwards and forwards till you get there. And I thought, yes, sir, I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And go with me now down I-26 through Columbia all the way to where it begins or ends, however you want to look at it, down in the other part of the reaches of South Carolina. If you ask someone there at MUSC where you might park, they have this Fritz Hollins, all this fiddle faddle going on around here, too much consuming going on, too much traffic around here. What you doing here? Going back to Columbia where you belong. You know, kind of got a little bit of that going on down there. It's just amazing how we have regionalized ourselves in South Carolina. But again, that's just who we are. Now, the greatest accent we've ever had, the greatest dialect we've ever had. And I brought this gentleman with me 7 or 8 years ago when I was here with Senator Strom Thurmond. He's gone now, and some of this is kind of old news, but people still ask about him. So if he were here, he'd probably say, now, Lindsey Graham took my job years ago, and he's running for president now, and if he wins, I'm coming back and taking his job back because my third wife was born yesterday morning at Julian's Hospital, and I'm planning to come back and get married again and serve as your governor for 2 terms and have some more children. You know, you've got to be positive about these things. And that's probably something like Senator Thurmond would say. You never knew what he was going to say. The reason people are living longer today is because they're not dying sooner. I don't know what he meant by that one, but that's okay. Now, the last time I was here, I mentioned medical terms that people throw at me. I speak for physicians groups and pharmacist groups, and it's a wonderful thing. Nurses. Raleigh Sigler's wife, Ruthie, has had me speak for her for different things, and nurses come up to me all the time giving you material. Y'all know some people in South Carolina, they can't eat a lovely meal like this today. Especially if it has anything to do with spicy food or barbecue or anything, they can't do it because they have a hyena hernia. A hyena, I guess he's clawing his way up their esophagus. A live animal locked up in their upper GI tract. And my dad is a minister, still living, thankfully. And when I was a little boy growing up in South Carolina, in a minister's home, we had things like this going on. At church, we had open prayer time where my dad, at a certain time during the worship service, would call upon folks to get up and testify. Tell them, you know, what's happened to you this past week, or a prayer request. Now, Dad had to shut that down because people would get up and they would tell that they would go and break every HIPAA law you've ever known to man. But they would get up and tell everything wrong with them and then sit down and someone else would get up and try to outdo that person. So, you know, we do it a little more discreetly now, but back then you had sweet little ladies getting up and say, y'all pray for me, I have very close veins. Things like that. And you just have to kind of try not to laugh during church because it's funny, but it's not funny, but it is funny. But you're dealing with all this sort of thing. But now, you have, like a man over in Hartsville told me not long ago, he was in a doctor's office over there and he was waiting to see the doctor, and from the other room he could hear this other patient who had just had his lab work done calling his wife, I guess from his cell phone, telling her, I'll be home in a little while, honey, I'm still waiting on my lab work to come back. They just came in here and did that, and they told me they were checking my castor oil right now. And people say things like this, and they don't mean things like this, but that's what they say. It's not as bad as having roaches of the liver, but it's close. It's close. Things like that can happen. You have to be really careful. And one guy in Charleston, South Carolina, years ago during a reception, I'll never forget this. This guy told me that he had an operation on his neck, and that's not funny. But I must admit to you, I almost got cracked up because he told me seriously that they had to graft some Godiva bone into his neck during this surgery. And I'm thinking, sir, you mean cadaver, right? But I didn't say it out loud. He was telling about this Godiva bone. And I'm thinking, one day he's going to have this strange craving for chocolates that just sort of overtake. And they say things like that. And what do? I don't know. You just yes sir, and you just kind of keep going and laugh about it later like we humorists do. Not being ugly by any means, but one guy had a compact disc in his bag. Now, I don't know what it played, Sinatra or Josh Groban or, you know, the Bee Gees or whatever, but he had a compact disc in his bag. This happened to me years ago, and I'm pretty sure, according to my notes, I shared this with you the last time, but let me share it with you again because it really happened and I love telling it. Have you ever eaten at the Angus Barn Restaurant in Raleigh, North Carolina? It's a very nice place. I was up there years ago giving a talk with this group, but afterwards this lady came by and she was shaking my hand, being real nice, and she said, "Glenn, I'm a nurse and I want to give you something that happened to me that you can use." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Well, I work at one of the hospitals, I forgot where." And she said, "One night, I work in labor delivery," she said, "and we were attending this patient, obviously getting ready to have a baby. They wheeled her in there, and she said the lady was actually doing quite well, and her vitals were fine, her baby's heartbeat was fine. Everything was actually going along very well." And we told her that. We told her, "Just lie here, take it easy. Your doctor has been called, he's on the way, and we're going to take very good care of you. It's going to be a breeze, we'll give you an epidural, everything's going to be fine, no problem." She said that didn't work. The lady looked back at her with much nervousness and said to her, "Please call my doctor right now. I want you to call him right now and get him here if you have to call him on his cell phone, because I want him to come here right now and seduce me and take care of this thing right now." She said, "I didn't do it, but I want to say, honey, that happened to you a while back." That's enough of that, but people tell you all sorts of things, and that's what we humorists do. We gather things. Mr. Toma asked me earlier, as I first got here and we were reconnecting, I've known him for a long time, he asked me, "Where do you get your material?" I said, "Well, I'm going to mention that in my talk today. Everywhere I go, everywhere, family reunions and so forth, it's at home, it's abroad, it's at Rotary, everywhere I go. Just keep your antenna up and it'll come at you. You don't have to go looking for it, it will come to you." Now, this past May, a couple of weeks ago, my wife and I celebrated our silver anniversary. When I was with you years and years ago, Denise and I had been married 2 years. We had no children at that point. Now here I am 25 years later with a mortgage that's almost paid off, thankfully. Silver anniversary, 2 children, one in college, one in high school. You know, life is just amazing how it happens. But in this beautiful thing we call holy matrimony, I've learned this after 25 years of marriage, that it is spooky how well you get to know the person with whom you live that long. Because you spend 25 years in the same house with someone, you get to know them quite well, and vice versa. I'll be minding my own business, and I'll get up from the den and I'll make my way into the kitchen while my wife and kids are still watching TV or whatever. And I'll be getting something, a snack out of the pantry. And my wife, my sweet dear wife, whom I do love, she will say to me, "Bring me one of those." And I'm just reaching in there. She's in the other room. And I'll ask her, I said, "Denise, what am I getting out of here?" She said, "You're getting one of those oatmeal raisin cookies out of there." And I'll say to her, "How do you know what I'm getting at?" She said, "I can tell by the way the bag rattles what you're getting at." That scares me that they can know that much about what's going on. It's unbelievable how well you get connected like that. It's neat, but it's scary all at the same time. And I do travel in my work, and I'm out and about sometimes 2 or 3 days, and I'm always glad to get home. And when I get home, you know, you're petting the dog, and you're kissing on your wife and loving your son and daughter and being sweet to everybody, and you put your luggage up, and you've got a glass of milk there and some cookies, and you're eating a little snack and the milk spills, and my wife, she comes in there with this little dishcloth thing, and she said, "You men are so messy. You men never pick up after yourself. You men this, you men that." I'm thinking, wait a minute. Men, that's the plural tense of the word man. I better be the only man in this house. You know, I pick at her about that sometimes. We get a little charge out of that. But things like that happen. But when we go out to eat, as we did for our anniversary just recently, it takes me very little time to do my hair. So I'm dressed, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And I'm standing there, she comes out, and she looks me up and down, and she said, "Are you going to wear that?" I know what that means. So I'll go and I'll change my necktie or whatever. I'll do whatever she suggests. And then she goes in and after this time that would equate to purgatory, she comes out, and finally she's ready, but not quite. She has different shoes on each foot. And she asked me, which pair of shoes should I wear with this outfit? And I said, I don't know how to dress myself. How can I tell you how to get dressed? So we worked through that, and I say, just wear one of each, and it'll match everything you have. And that's good advice. So we worked through that. But we finally have learned to do these sorts of things and to see a little bit of humor, even in our home, and to pick at each other about it. Now, usually when I get home, my wife will say, you spoke today, right? Yeah. Well, did you pick at me? And so y'all please don't tell her. You're trying to... I want to make it another 25 years at least, which my parents today, this very day, are celebrating their anniversary. And they've been married, of course, over 50 years. They're past their golden anniversary. And this happened, I'm told, to another couple who were celebrating their golden anniversary one morning. They got up and made it to the living room, to the dining room table, and they were eating. And the wife, they tend to remember these things better than we men sometimes. And the guy was sitting there, and he's like me, his hearing wasn't 100%, wasn't quite what it should be, and his wife said, well, I guess you know what today is. And he said, what'd you say? She said, this is our golden anniversary. Today we've been married 50 years. He said, what did you say? She said, I said today is our golden wedding anniversary. I guess our love is tried and true. He said, well, I'm sick and tired of you too. That wasn't quite the way that was supposed to go, but things like that can kind of get factored into the equation too. But life, living at home, wherever we are, it's who we are, and no matter how we speak or enunciate our words or say we're having our casserole checked or whatever, it's just who we are here in South Carolina. Now let me boil this down. I've got my eye on the clock back there. I want to share something with you music-wise like I did before, and then into my closing remarks. Let me say this about music. I think it's changed a lot since my parents came along. My parents listened to some of their oldie music sometime, and you can actually understand what people were saying back then. They had lyrics to their songs, and you could understand. Some of it actually made sense. And when I turn on the TV and I listen sometime to these songs, I hear people singing like, you give your hand to me, and then you say hello. I can hardly speak, my heart is beating so anyone can tell. You think you know me well, but you don't know me. You don't know the one who longs to kiss you at night and longs to hold you tight and who dreams of you at night. To you I'm just a friend, that's all I've ever been, 'cause you don't know me. I don't know, it's just a little different than it was back then. And then you go to weddings. When I was a little boy going from a minister's home, I had to go to weddings and funerals. That's part of being a minister's son. You say, well, did you like that? No, but I had to do it, so I did it. And you go to these places, and I've noticed, though, that the opera ladies, I love to watch them and hear them sing in that venue and in that setting, but they're making their way down to our places of worship. When I was a little kid, you had the lady from church who sang at weddings, and she did an okay job. Now they're bringing in the big guns from Juilliard, trained with the faces, the ladies who make faces when they sing. When they get up, they sing like this. It doesn't start out at first, but it kicks in. With earth I will do. Then it goes blank again. With earth I will watch. Is it just me, or is it? That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That should be against the law, I think. I don't understand all that sometimes. And then you've got love music that people sing that's actually, if you play it backward, everything bad that happened to you really didn't happen bad at all. George Jones was the king of that. You want to go into a place of depression, just listen to his music. Now, Aaron Neville was singing a George Jones country song not long ago. Aaron Neville. It went kind of like this. Straight ahead, that's the bed where we lie and together, but Lord knows we had a good thing going on. See her picture on the table. Don't it look like she'd be able just to touch me and say, good morning, dear. There's her rings, all her things, and her clothes are in the closet like she left them when she tore my world apart. When you leave, you'll see the nursery. Oh, she left me without mercy, taking nothing but her baby and my heart. Some things I'll never understand in life, ever. Now one more, and this is something I've noticed years ago. We were watching TV and the Bee Gees were on. The three brothers were alive and well and living and singing together. And my wife said, leave it there. I said, okay. So I handed her the remote control because I'm a professional remote control changer. And I handed it to her, and she was watching this and I was watching her watch them. And I don't understand this, how these three brothers would sing so differently. But the one who stood in the middle with the pronounced overbite, Robin, sang differently than his brother Barry. Robin sang, I can dream of younger days when living for my life was everything a man could want to do. I could never see tomorrow. No one said a word about the sorrows. His brother Barry said, hey. When he did that, my wife said, woo! I don't even know why a grown man goes, what are you saying? That's like the opera lady doing the face. Why do they do that? I don't know why they do that. But my wife likes that. So sometime at night I'll walk to the house, hey Denise, what? That's as far as we're going to go with that. Y'all tell Dr. Crow that I've been saying stuff in his church that I shouldn't say, so that's as far as we're going to go with it. Now, let me segue into something. There are other things I can do to make this a little more smooth, maybe, but in the interest of time, let me cut right to the chase here and say this to you, if I may. I have enjoyed my times being with you, and I'm pretty sure I spoke another time way back years ago when y'all met at Spring Valley Country Club. So I believe this is my 4th visit in 20-some years. Always good to be with you. I wanted to just end on this note, wrap up on this note if I may. I love people. I pick at people sometimes. I gouge them a little bit. I take things they say and do and retell it and have a lot of fun with it, but hopefully not taking things too far. But in my observations of people, I noticed something years ago that has a little message in it, and I want to leave this with you. Growing up in a minister's home, someone asked me a little bit ago, Julian asked me, is your dad still living? I said, oh yeah. I said, you know, he's 80-some years old now, 82 and a half years old, and still preaches occasionally and all of that, but wouldn't have it any other way. I've heard my good daddy preach thousands of sermons, literally. I did the math on it one day. I don't know exactly how many, but thousands. And I watched him carefully when I was a little boy go out and about and do good things for people, like we Rotarians try to do as we go out and about doing things for other folks who are less fortunate than we. And one day something really caught my attention. I'm going to try to do this right for you here. As I was asked by my dad when we lived in the little town of Bamberg to follow him one day, get in the back seat of the car, he said, we're going to ride down to Mr. Doc Warren's house. And we're going to pick him up, not a doctor, just Mr. Doc Warren. We're going to go somewhere with him. So we did. We rode down the street, and Dad pulled over. Mr. Warren came out of his house, down his sidewalk, and into our car. And he and Dad, we all went riding somewhere. It was so long ago, and I was so young, I don't remember where we went. But I remember Mr. Warren told Daddy that he had caught a dish pan full of red breast fish out of the Edisville River. That caught my attention. And they were talking about guy stuff, you know, things that fellows talk about. And somewhere along the way, my daddy said to Mr. Warren, he said, if you will come to my house on a Saturday when I'm not too busy, he said, I will give you a free haircut. He said, you know, I pastor the church down the street here, but before I was a minister, I cut hair. And I still have my barber tools. And if you'll come, I'll give you a free haircut. One Saturday, Mr. Warren came and knocked on our back door, and he said, I'd like to get a haircut if that's okay. So Dad said, Glenn, go get one of Mom's chairs from the table in there in the living room. So I did. I got one of Mom's chairs, brought it in there to the area where we had a utility room where there was a washer and dryer. And in that room, there was a linoleum floor. And it was safe to cut hair there. Mr. Warren sat down, and Dad took the barber bag out of the cabinet right over the washer and dryer. It was a canvas bag that had all the stuff in it. And he took this sheet out there and wrapped it around Mr. Warren's head, and he put the little clip back there and got ready to cut his hair. And I'm not making a joke out of this, and I'm not being disrespectful at all, but it makes a point. Mr. Warren, like maybe me one day, who knows, had a little something going on, and his head moved like this. And I'm sitting there as a little boy, and I said, I'm not going to go watch cartoons right now, because I know this. My daddy's going to go around this man's head, and it's a moving target. And Daddy has always told me that if I didn't remain perfectly still while he was cutting hair, he might nick my ear with the clippers. And it was possible. But Daddy kept in this barber bag a vial of powder that it would stop bleeding, and it burned like a match. And I knew that Daddy was going to cut this man's ear. And I watched this as my dad went around this ear, the back of the head. He never once cut Mr. Doc Warren's ear, to my dismay. I wanted something to happen. But anyhow, thankfully he did not. But Mr. Doc Warren appreciated what Dad was doing for him, those free haircuts, and began coming to our church. And he got very involved in the church, which is exactly what my daddy wanted. Here's where I'm trying to go. Years ago, I went back to Bamberg to give a talk. After the talk, before I made my way back to Columbia, I drove down Church Street to where the church is still there, parsonage right there where we used to live. And I drove around back, and as I was sitting in my car with the air conditioner running, just looking around at the backyard, which looked like a park back then. It looks like the size of a postage stamp now, it's so small. I remembered playing back there as a child with my brother and my sister, and I remember people who lived around us, and I saw this building, and it was a building that had been built since we left. And there's a cornerstone of that building that had the names inscribed of the trustees at the time. And I remember, I said, I know Miss Verdine Gunnels, I knew her. And then I saw the name Doc Warren on that cornerstone. And I thought to myself, you know, my dad, out of love, went down the street, and out of compassion and genuine care for someone, and put that man in the front seat of our car and drove him around and chatted with him and gave him free haircuts and did kind things to him and just sort of won him in. If he had not done that, would that name have been inscribed on that cornerstone or not? I don't know. But I know this, Dad did what he thought was right. And it was the right thing. And Mr. Warren was blessed, and my dad was blessed, and I guess we're all blessed because of that. But the point is this, we Rotarians sneak out of our houses on Thursdays and for us on Mondays, and we go to Rotary and we do things, and our kids see us doing blood drives and raising money and selling nuts and doing all kind of things that we do in life to do what we need to do for other people. And we're being observed, sometimes by children or grandchildren, and we say, well, I don't know that they know what Rotary is all about, having appreciation for what we do. They know, they see, because I saw the things, I've heard my dad's sermons, but I saw what he did as well. And so I encourage you today to continue to do what you're doing here at this wonderful club that has existed for a very long time, to not be weary in well-doing, because records are being kept by this club and by this district and by Rotary International, but good records are being kept elsewhere as well. Thank you.